welcome back to Litigation Help. My name is Heather Hui-Litwin, and today we're going to talk about how to respond to a request for information in family law proceeding. Joining me here is our regular guest, Shmuel Stern of Disclosure Clinic. Hi, Shmuel.
Hello again. How are you?
But before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone again that our videos provide general legal information based on the law in Ontario, Canada. For legal advice to your case, please consult with a lawyer. Well, first, I guess I need to ask you for some background information. What is a request for information?
Sure. I mean, I think the first question should be, what is information?
What is it? Oh, God.
Before you can request
Okay.
it.
All right.
So I like to think of access to justice, okay, as a concept. And so access means you have an entryway and knowledge of the legal system. Justice means that there is a court system or a court order or a separation agreement, like there is a document at the end that you can rely on that's enforceable, and brings you to some conclusion. So there's a beginning and an end, and there's a two in the middle. I'm going to block my face. The two, what is the access to justice? And the answer is all the information, the input that is needed to get the justice. So you don't just walk in front of court, you want, right? Or forget about court completely. If you're just dealing with a separation and you have issues that need to be resolved, every situation requires the facts that are specific to that situation, and that's the information, very briefly, very succinctly said. Okay, and so you would think that most people would provide the information that they need in order to figure out solutions to their issues, right?
Mhm.
Like that, certainly, usually there's at least one party that is driving the movement toward a resolution,
Right.
okay, inside or outside of court. And so why don't people provide info? Like, why is there a request at all? And the answer, there's a variety of answers. Sometimes people just don't know what to provide. They just don't know. Like, and that's part of access, frankly, which is knowing the information that you need to provide and what the other side needs to provide. Sometimes people can be very passive aggressive in their family law situation where they feel put upon and they're like, you're asking for it, I'm not going to provide it.
Right.
And there's an aggressiveness there that is passive. They're on not providing documents. Okay, so and that generates a request. Okay. I think the third reason is, and this is something I'm working on also, is that the forms don't 100% tell you exactly what you need to provide when you need to provide it.
Right.
And so that information and the law, like to bring that up to the surface, right?
Mhm.
Many people don't know, and the act of asking for information is actually bad. It means that you think the other person is not providing what they need to provide, and then you start going and like, why are they not providing the information? And generally, we usually don't give people the benefit of the doubt, and
Right.
it's like, oh, there's a nefarious reason why they're not providing the information, and that creates mistrust, distrust.
Right.
And the goal, so the act of asking for information is actually not positive, right? It means that there's something missing, and why is it missing? We're not today, we're not talking about creating that request. We're talking about, okay, you've received that request, how do you respond to it that rebuilds the trust? Okay, and why is that important to rebuild the trust? Well, I'm going to give you two practical reasons. Reason number one is, if you can say, here's the information, and I didn't provide it because I didn't know to provide it, or this is extraneous and you're asking for it, you can rebuild the trust, which can then lead toward settlement, right? Because the other side says, oh, okay, now you've provided it, or now I understand why you didn't provide that information, and now we can move on towards settlement that will save you money. Okay, so
Mm.
that's one reason to be proactive with your response to request. The negative way of looking at it is that if you don't provide the information, it may actually impact your credibility. Um, whereby the other side says, here's my story about my ex's finances. They haven't provided their documentation that I asked for. You should believe my story, right? Yeah, they're making $1 million, even though they're not, right? But because the information is not being provided, um, what we call in law a negative inference is sought to be made,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that very much is an effective tool, right? So you want to avoid that. You want to tell your story, and you want to be able to tell it properly from your perspective. Lastly, we're going to discuss the game aspect of disclosure, which is a big problem. It's one of the reasons why I created Disclosure Clinic, is that when people separate, the last thing you're thinking about is paper, right? You're thinking about all the uncertainties of life. And the lawyers who do this day by day, we know there's a game aspect to asking for things with the expectation that the response is not going to be provided, and then getting results that we ordinarily would not be able to get because we're setting people up to fail. Okay, so those are the 3 reasons why you should respond to a request for information. So I think the best way to start is to start with an actual request for information, and what exactly we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
in real life. So here we go. Okay. So there actually isn't a formal form for a request for information. You might just receive a letter with a list. Okay, so and that's really important to realize. In another video of ours, we discussed a request to admit, and
Mm-hmm.
there are formalities to that. But a request for information could just be in a letter. It doesn't have to be in court, and even if it's in court, if you're in a court process, it could still just be a letter. Okay,
Sorry, so it's not Form 20 then? Like,
so we're getting to Form 20. Good. So there is a Form 20.
oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, and we're going to look at the Form 20 in a second. I think it's just interesting to know that if you look at Rule 20 of the Family Law Rules, which deals
Mm-hmm.
with questioning a witness, that's where the reference to a Form 20 is.
Mm.
And it's really, here's the reference to the Form 20, but it's specifically for child protection cases.
Oh,
It's funny, it's actually a problem, which we'll get to momentarily. It's a problem that we don't have a designated form for financial disclosure.
interesting. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But
Okay.
yeah, it's funny. So there it is, in which case a party will serve a request for information for child protection. Has
Right.
nothing to do with finances.
Okay.
Okay, and
Understood.
yet people use it as a form. Why? Because it's a request for information. So
Yeah. Okay.
let's just look at it. This is the one that you would find on the ministry website.
Right.
I just put it on my Google Drive. It has the regular boxes. It says Form 20 request for information.
Right.
It says to whom the request is being made,
Yeah.
and we want to provide it in X number of days. Okay, we'll talk about that. And then it says we want it in the form of an affidavit or a letter or other.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Now there's no correct answer here. It really depends on the information that's being sought. If you're providing documents, right? So you could just send an email and say, here are the documents you requested.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so again, this form is not meant for what we are asking for. And even at the bottom here, it says, if you don't provide the information, a summons may be served requiring you to be questioned about it. That's a little bit not applicable, like that. It's not that simple, right?
Mhm.
And a motion may be made against you and costs. Well, that is true. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll get to that. Okay, so let's look at a sample of one that's
Great.
actually completed.
Fantastic.
So here's a request for information. I've redacted the personal information. And you'll see that they ask that the information be provided within 30 days. I'll just make it a little bigger as an affidavit or other as outlined below, who knows. And then it's a list of requests for information. And really, most of this is documentation that's being asked. So here is a request for an updated Form 13.1 financial statement.
Right.
I'm going to say this without comment. We're just going to scroll through some of this. All
Mhm.
personal and business notices of reassessment with schedules since 2019, proof of income, proof of year-to-date income, sworn affidavit with supporting documents detailing sources of income. It's very interesting. People can put whatever they want. That's part of the problem. You can ask for whatever you want, right?
Mhm.
Here they used headings, which I think is actually helpful to at
Mhm.
least organize your thoughts about it. So details and documentary proof of any real estate. Okay, here you can see I actually changed the account numbers here.
That's
Um,
good.
and here actually just as a good example, and we're going to stop here for this document, is it's asking for all bank accounts and statements for the period of March 2019 forward. And this was sent on March 6, 2024. So they're asking for approximately 20, 21, 22, 23. Yep. So let's do that again. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. They're asking for 5 years worth of bank statements
Right.
for these accounts, and it continues for all the other accounts. Okay. So they're also asking down here, just interesting, for a copy of a credit report. Okay, so you get this document, and sometimes this numbering, I'm just scrolling down, goes to 23. Sometimes you'll get voluminous.
Mm.
It'll go very high, or it could be very short, but
Mm.
also contain these, give me 5 years worth of bank statements or
Mm.
credit card statements.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at here. Fine. And so the question is, what do you do? Okay, it's first of all, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
That document said provide all that documents within 30 days.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, and what are you supposed to do? Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to help you. We're going to break this down step by step, very pragmatically.